I took my girls there last summer.
Yeah.
They liked it. They thought it was, yeah.
Where's the camera so I can hide?
You're right under it. You're good.
How's the back of my head look, right?
He said,
Oh, mine will look bald.
All right. This is the May 8th Select Board Workshop. We have 3 representatives from, excuse me if I get this wrong, land share riders.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
All right, if you folks would each state your name, just for the record.
Robert
Mike.
Strauss.
Tom Espinosa.
And Mike Seavey.
All right, thank you.
Mike, Tom, and tell me your name again?
Bob Strauss.
Bob,
And
okay.
is that Danielle right there?
That is
I've
Danielle.
never met her. I've talked to her on the phone before, and I know of her, but I've never. Hi,
Yep,
Danielle. I'm Tom.
yep.
Nice to connect a name and a face.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so why are we here?
Yes.
That's what we want to know.
That's what- Actually, there's 2 different reasons. I would
Okay.
say.
I think, excuse me,
Good.
I think we should know why we're here first.
Well, okay,
You know what I'm saying? There was something brought up.
I'm not sure.
Well, my understanding,
Access to Hasty Road.
yeah, my understanding is that there was a resident who's complained about speed and ATVs on Hasty Road.
Yeah.
And Hasty Road is a town road, and I don't think that we have any understanding of LSR having permission to use it.
And we're not sure either. But
We just know history from,
we know history, and there's a common sense mind thought that when that plantation development with the ATV club happened, I don't personally see how somebody would have worked with somebody from the forester, likely from the plantation, you know, knowing they're gonna have to use the town road. It doesn't seem likely to me that somebody would be able to say, okay, thanks for using the plantation, we're just gonna do what we want on this town road that runs through the plantation. So, I just don't see that happening, of people just doing whatever they want when they have to really abide by the rules for the plantation end of it. So I don't know if there was ever a written agreement anywhere. It's so hard to find that the people that were in charge back then are now dead. So
The original.
you can't reference them.
People connected to LSR.
the original guy.
The original guys were kind of like, they weren't part of the state thing yet. I
He
don't
lived
think.
on Pratt Road, the end of Pratt Road.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that I think organized the club. Can't remember his name. He died, I think, of cancer very quickly. And then I came in with another guy and saved the club from going under. But they had already established everything, him and his wife. And a few members, Sonny Fox and Don Taylor and a bunch of people like that were in it in the beginning. And they had the trail going to Taylor City. Because back then, I think the gas pumps were there. And I think, I don't know, might have even been a store at that point.
It was a store, guys.
But that's where it came from. And then they had gone up, they went up, because after I was in the club for a couple of years, I took over as trail master. And it was already established, but then there was a trail that went up to Mary Brown Road and came back onto the plantation. And I think the Mary Brown Road was an old town road too, because we had problems at the end of that road. And to the point where actually state police were brought in, because the guy was blocking the road off. And it was deemed that, and it was brought to the attention of the town too. And
Excuse me, how long ago was that? Do you have
that
any
would have
idea?
been, I'm gonna guess now,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that was probably in 2012.
okay, so 10 or
Give or
12
take.
years ago. 14.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, okay.
I've probably been in the club since 2010. I think it was established in 2007 or 8.
Hey, As far as the state's concerned,
2008 is what I saw.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's when they first went for a grant. But that's probably not when they established the club.
Yeah,
I think they
think
established
that's
the
when
club
they-
and then found out that they could get, they might have had the club going for a couple of years before that. I'm not sure. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
that doesn't matter.
The first grant application to the state was in 2008. So I guess, you know, for legal, I don't know what they're gonna call it, so that's when it began to be a registered club.
I think it was, to the best of my knowledge, it was word of mouth. With the selectmen that were at the time said, yeah, go ahead, it's all right. As long as we don't have a bunch of complaints, you're all good. And never really did. And then Plantation at some point shut down the access to get on the end of Mayor Brown Road because they logged up in there, said no, can't put ATVs up through there. So we never used it again, but kept that open to the Taylor City. And it's been an access trail, which is not a through trail,
What's an access, what is an access trail?
which was
Access trails are generally for reasons like to get gas, and it's also for local people that can drive approximately a third of a mile down a town or a state road, so they don't have to pack up their trailer to go to the trail. So you can just ride on down there. Those are two reasons I'm aware of. I'm sure there's some to get food, but it's been common practice for decades for the people in that little neighborhood there in Stagecoach area to just ride out of their houses down to the, and I'm quite sure they're not the troublemakers.
Right.
Well,
Right.
if
Well-
this just happened, I understand this just happened.
Yeah,
So
within the
it's not
last
anybody
month.
that had legal right to be on the trails anyway. We have dirt bikes, a lot of dirt bikes that are legally registered on the road that can ride Hasty Road and any other road.
They can ride our trails, they have dual purpose bikes
Right.
all over our
They register
trails.
as ATVs.
And they're still gonna be able to use that road.
And our understanding from what Tom told me is the other day, 2 of them flew by his house. And they might have been the ones that went down Hasty Road.
They were, so I talked to
Dirt
Alan
bikes or
Taylor.
ATVs?
Huh? There was 2 dirt bikes that went by my house at probably 75 miles an hour. I usually run right out there and I hear them and I tell them to knock it off, but obviously I can't do that right
No
now.
running right now.
So I did kind of catch the back of the bikes. They looked to me like they had plates on them. And I talked to Alan Taylor last night because he lives right there. And he says there was 2 dirt bikes and then there was a dirt bike and an ATV that went racing through.
Now, do you live before Mary Brown Road from Taylor City
I
or
live
after?
across the street.
Okay,
The
okay.
next house before Mary Brown Road, if you're going towards New Hampshire. His house is the one just before Mary Brown Road.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I'm assuming that's what set the gentleman off. I don't know that. We did have a problem, I remember, was it you that caught some people being retards down on Hastings?
We always see them. They come down Smith Road, Stagecoach, and hit the plantation. So it's an every year
Smith
thing. It's
Road
not just
and-
recent. They come off Smith Road and go like hell.
And Stagecoach?
No, they go Stagecoach to get to Hasty Road. Oh,
Yeah.
153. I mean, you guys must see it. You live right there.
Well, there's a fair amount of, I'll call them, I'll just say local people that they don't think they have to worry about that stuff. And one of the reasons the club has been established was to try to give people a place to legally ride their wheelers, to recreate.
Keep them in line.
So
Yep.
the only way you can keep them in line is to have a state-approved trail system. And that lets us put signs out, speed limits, caution signs, all kinds of different things if we can, to try to slow them the heck down
Mhm.
and keep them on one ribbon, because they pretty much go, phew.
I mean, I see them flying down Elm Street. Yeah, they're probably coming off Keezer Mountain Road and going down towards
No
Secocas.
Secocas.
trails.
Yeah, that's.
Right, I know that's not this, but no matter what you do, there's
No,
gonna be
you're
people
gonna
who,
have-
you're gonna have people flying
We
down
had a
Hasty Road.
meeting, so we do a cleanup for the plantation every year because they're our biggest trail systems and there's a lot of availability in the future, so they're so happy with us and to the point that the new owners of the plantations, I don't know where they are yet, They literally said they want to meet with the club on working together to make it a better place. So I met with Colin Perkins, talked to him with a couple of, they call them wardens, a couple of wardens, because they provide the transportation to get rid of the junk. So Plantation wouldn't allow dirt bikes on their property, but they were having issues with them still coming in. No matter what we put up for signs, there's nothing really you can do. So the warden, Chris McCabe, I think, I'm not sure, he said, well, the only way you're going to slow a lot of that down is if you give them a place to go. And so after Colin meeting with the owners said, let's try it. So other than this, and I'm sure there's other incidents like she has said, I'm sure they're local kids, racing down there, we have had zero problems with motorcycles on the plantation now. There's no signs of them sneaking in these little places they would bring them in. So I don't know if losing access is going to actually fix that citizen's concern. Because the people are still going to do it. They're still, the people that are breaking the rules are still going to do it. And I can tell you a lot of the neighbors around there, they're probably still going to do it because they've been doing it for decades.
Well,
So I don't
all
know
of
if it-
Hasty's posted as an LSR trail. Do you have it? First of all, I guess I've seen some emails that say it was a temporary solution to,
So that's the other end.
right? And then the other thing is, if you say that you have state approval of trails, is Hasty Road considered a state-approved trail?
No.
No.
It's out on a trail system.
We,
It's on the map.
if we're using it as a temporary bypass or something like that, it's still, as long as it's been approved, then we're all good. The state, we're a state-approved trail system. So sometimes because of logging issues and stuff like that, like you have to do a reroute because they're logging. So we can't use a certain chunk of the trail. So they give us an access, they, like on the plantation, go around this way to get around the logging.
Right. I saw a temporary approval.
So you know what, I read this email that supposedly I sent, and I am looking at this thing this morning, I go, I would have never worded stuff that way. My wife must have wrote that for me, because she was the secretary of the club. But I think it was Wade Ledoux,
Yeah.
because he's the one that told that he had met with the selectman or a selectman and said that the temporary reroute was good, and if we needed more time, that was okay. And he said to me, whoever the selectman was, that the selectman gave us permission to use temporary routes when we need them, and as long as nobody complained, it was okay.
But now we have complaints, and
Now
I
we
know,
have
we've-
complaints.
right, and I
So,
know
yeah,
it's
so
not
I'm just
just
saying,
one.
that's kind of all we really.
You have more?
I've heard a few comments from people who live on Hasty that ATVs fly down there.
Right.
Yeah.
We,
And
Well,
Middle
we-
Road.
And Middle Road.
Yeah,
Oh, and Middle
the
Road.
The trail signage goes all the way down Hasty Road, all the way down Middle Road to the paved section.
Yeah.
So it shows that the town roads are actually trails. And the Middle Road people would have all those houses have complained of the speed as well, so it's not just.
They didn't
Well,
complain
nobody's
to us.
complained to us, so how am I gonna fix it?
Well, because they would complain to us, because it's a
Right.
town road, and that's,
Right.
you know, that's our
That's
job,
true.
our town road, so they would
Well, I
complain to
put things
us.
out there for people to please contact
Yeah,
us,
let us
because we
know
will
if there's
fix
a
the
problem.
problem, but
Yeah.
it
We
just
can go
doesn't get
talk to
out
them
there.
and try to alleviate it or whatever. But the end result is, what we're here for is, apparently, the club back then never got permission for Hasty Road, written permission.
Sounds like it.
Sounds
Sounds
like
like
it's
it.
just a channel.
Oh, something like that, yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
because we've got permission when Porter stuff that's verbal too. So I guess it was,
I would recommend you get it in writing.
Yeah.
I guess it was, it's getting to the point now, I guess in this time and day and age, we need to
It
get
has to be
everything.
documented,
Absolutely.
But I don't really have stuff from yesterday.
Because we have $2 million insurance because of that.
Yeah.
We've got all this extra insurance because we're using town roads.
Yeah.
You know, town existing roads or roads.
So with the gas pumps gone and the store gone, what's the purpose of using Hasty Road?
Access for locals.
That's just-
Access for locals, okay?
But they
You know, I
would,
mean, here I am, the president club. I live right there, and I have to hit the trails to take care and look at things. So every couple of days, I'm gonna have to load my wheeler and my trailer just to go down that little bit when
No, I'm
my
not,
club
I'm not
members
debating
probably
it,
haven't
I'm
done
just
anything
asking.
wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just
But
saying, that's,
what about
that's
going-
what it's for.
Yeah.
Convenience.
but you would do that, but there's other people that go down Hasty and hit Middle. They don't use the trails on the either side of Levitt Plantation, they're just going down Hasty and hitting Middle Road because it's
Yeah,
a,
they're just flying down them roads.
Right, so
and
how-
Like I said, most of it's, a lot of it's
But even
registered
even
dirt
if we don't
bikes.
have that access,
I
they're
just-
still gonna do that.
But we also lost B Trail, okay? And that made it where you have to go to the end of Hasty, take a right, and to get to the other trail system. We're currently working on a plan with the plantation
Woodward.
for Woodward.
We have a $22,000 estimate waiting to be approved to fix Woodward, and then that section of Middle Road, Hasty Road down to Beach Trail will no longer.
Well,
be
we need to
needed.
get that, now that we're here, we need to put that on the table too, make sure we get access for that, if that's the case, because.
Yeah.
Woodward's another
Like
town
David
road.
Morrow's place,
Yeah,
Plantation claims it's theirs.
Woodward.
well,
Down.
Well, I don't know, I'm just telling you what I'm being told. That's
Down-
what I'm
Down to where
told.
it's plowed. Like it.
we
Yeah.
certainly own it where we plow it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought we owned it further, but,
I thought you owned it all the way to Page Road.
yeah, yeah.
even where it's not passable by a car, it's still, I believe, a town
Yeah.
It's
road.
just an unmaintained.
Yep.
And we did talk with the gentleman that rents the bikes out there, he has no issue. He
Yeah.
just
Yeah, he's
asked us
happy.
to pitch some of the water a certain direction.
Fix
Uh-huh.
some stuff for him.
Yeah,
Because it's gonna help his road.
What do we need to do to get that, to get?
yeah,
get access?
it's, there's all kinds of different roads here that we're talking about. It seems like what I would like at least is a list or a map or something that shows exactly what roads you want to be able to go on.
Yeah, that's not.
You
a
guys
problem.
have the map, right?
No, I don't think they do.
There's
Have
a
one of
show
these?
I
You don't
personally
sign
There's some
don't.
really nice ones made up, but this is what we have for now, where we're changing things.
Yeah, I think I have one at home.
Yeah, I dropped the
Yeah,
salt last
yeah, you
time.
can get them down at Village Variety, right? I mean,
Whoops.
Hold on.
the
I
trail
thought they
maps.
said for me, 'cause
Right.
We
they're
have
looking on
some,
it.
And, yeah.
I don't know if they're updated with the storm. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah, the
thinking.
wife was gonna bring some boy. So this is the Parsons Field end of it. And it looks like, I'm pretty sure,
Because the trail system actually starts
I
on
got
Middle
another
Lake
copy
Road.
of my truck, I'm gonna bring that.
That's where the
I
parking lot
got a
is.
couple.
And you go across the street,
Yeah,
get on
so they can look at it.
Uh-huh.
and then we go up in, and we come out on Heathbrook Road
Yeah,
and travel up through, and it connects, and it turns into Newark.
mhm.
And then come out onto, well, at that point, I guess that would be Morrill Hill Road. Because right there's three different names of the roads in like 200 yards.
Right, right, there's Molten Hill, Merrill Hill,
Right.
and I think Middle is part of
Middle.
that, is right.
yeah.
Yep, I know right where it is, but,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the issue is that there's some new, it looks like new signs are on Hasty Road that make people think it's an access, I mean, that it's a trail that they can go on, and you say locals, but I have a feeling it's people from,
Seen a lot more,
a
that's
lot
for
more
sure.
than locals that are hitting that up.
Well, where they
So-
come
yeah,
from?
but where they
New
gonna
Hampshire.
unload their, yeah, but where they gonna unload their trailers?
Well, they might come
They
down
have a
150,
trailer
right?
parking right on Hasty Road.
No,
Right,
but
if
I'm
it-
saying that's where they want us to
Well,
park,
if they're
but how
parking-
is the access?
I grew up
people?
on Hasty Road, okay?
Yeah.
But Don Taylor was my grandfather. I'm very well aware of the ATV system.
Mhm.
But I've never seen ATV signs all along Hasty Road, all around Middle Road to the paved section. This is brand new.
That's
That's
Within
the
last
real
couple
bypass.
years.
That's the
That's the
bypass
main
that's
road.
documented.
But
Because
but when
Road.
did you get permission for that from the town?
Right here.
Wade Ledoux got it
Wade
from.
Ledoux, I got this email we sent you.
When was that?
He talked to us.
And you people sent me a copy of this, and it had to do with our request.
That's
Like
a
I said, I
temporary-
wasn't
That's the
physically
temporary
one
one,
that
right?
did this.
I got like a fly right now.
And here it is
That
right
must be the
here.
temporary one.
Yeah,
If you wanna,
does it say that it's temporary?
yeah, temporary. I
Yeah,
didn't realize it was,
I think I've seen that from,
yeah, so
yeah.
that was where we was told.
So temporary, not,
But we were having issues fixing the road.
Fiction,
for
yeah.
temporary
in a
6 to
proper
8
manner,
week,
so we
right.
waited.
That was back in '23.
That just says Chase Road.
Yep, Chase and Middle, it doesn't include Hasty at all.
So that was for the cut.
Yeah.
23,
Okay,
I don't know if you
there's
were-
where that's where.
It says Harvey, so you probably weren't.
So that had to do with using Chase Road and part of Middle Road because they were logging. This past
I thought he had more.
trail master,
It's okay, yeah.
he was the one that handled the reroute that is now becoming B Trail. And I thought he did it properly, I didn't question him, he said he met with a selectman and
Yeah, I was there, he said, we're all
I
set.
said, we're all set. So, I don't, apparently, it wasn't all set.
Right, because this doesn't include Hasty by Taylor City.
No, it wouldn't have, because they weren't cutting there.
Yeah.
So we had, there was somebody that bought the property on Molten Hill, or was given the property or something. And basically, the gentleman who got the property, there was a section of hill that was really hard to maintain. He didn't have faith that we could do it. And he eventually said, I don't want you back.
After we put $3,800 in the hill.
And so anyway, so that's where it came from, that we needed to reroute B Trail. And so yeah, it's two separate things now I'm thinking about it.
So I think what we need at this point is to know specifically what roads you guys want considered for use, because
That's easy.
that's,
Yeah. That's the latest.
No, because it doesn't include Hasty by Taylor City.
It's not on there.
No, yeah. And then what do we do with all the citizens that live along that road and are not happy with who comes speeding down there when it's a town road and it's,
And Middle Road as well.
Well,
And
if we
middle,
take it
right.
off there,
I was,
if we take it off
It's gonna be
there,
a free for
and it's not, you think that's gonna stop the traffic?
And there's no dust
Because
control
it's not
anymore.
an ATV trail?
well, I think it's kind of an invitation to use it now with all the signs on it. Yeah.
That's the only way they've got to get there. They're all gonna continue to use, the people that are
I'm-
using that road now,
You're not gonna stop that group of kids that won't buy a
yeah,
house
'cause
here.
we were
They're gonna
asked.
ride the whole road. They're
We
gonna
would-
get the trail system.
yeah, to get to the trail
So where
system.
your signs are, it seems like Hasty Road is the trail.
It
They
says
can
on
go,
both.
they can go left,
Well,
down in the woods, or they
we-
can stay right on Hasty Road.
We were
Both the
approached
trail.
by some of the homeowners.
So you want a sign at the end of the, where the parking
I
area
don't.
is, says not a trail.
All I'm saying is Hasty Road is marked as a trail.
Access trail.
The whole road, and onto
Right.
Middle Road and onto the pavement is marked as an ATV trail.
And
From
I-
C Trail on.
I don't know what your numbers, your letters are, so.
Well, yeah, from, after you go by the parking area, then you go down the hill, and you go down the hill,
Yep.
and then the straightaway, you come around the corner, there's the rocks, and the C Trail used to go in there. And we got that discontinued, well, not discontinued, stopped because the B Trail got shut off. So we had to find a way around until we could fix getting back out
Yeah,
there.
it's fine.
So it's, so
And
that,
that was last season, and you have no documentation, so that tells me that whatever it was a story.
The,
What happens if there's an accident?
and we were also asked to, by a lady named Deb, I saw her on the trails last year. She's very happy with what we did with the dust control.
it's your mother.
Your mom.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah, it's my one.
yeah, she's walking the dogs.
She was happy as could be, like,
And,
unbelievable,
Yeah,
she
that's
could not
true.
believe that we would take the time and money to put
Yeah, we
dust
were
that
asked
the
to-
control dust, they says, well, the traffic's going by your
Hell.
house. I wouldn't want that going to my house.
Mm-hmm.
So every year, we're gonna keep this dusted, we already have new signage, 4x4 posts with metal steel signs.
For Hasty
They're gonna-
Road?
Yes, we already ordered them.
But we
To
were
slow
asked,
people
without-
down, to calm people
Yeah.
down going through, because we know there's
Not for the whole
houses
road.
there.
because we were asked to post this, slow down traffic.
Yep.
And that's the only reason why we put the speed limit signs up.
So do they go from Taylor City down towards where the parking lot is? If you're heading into Parsonsfield, the parking lot on the left is where everybody should be unloading, right? That's where everybody
Correct.
should be
For
unloading.
now, that's
It's gonna be,
changed.
it's gonna be across the
But,
street.
yeah.
Okay.
Pretty quick. We're putting a different parking lot, because that one gets muddy a lot.
Okay.
So we're in the process of trying to,
Okay, let's stay where we are.
Yeah.
We don't need futures, we got enough up in the air.
yeah.
So, what else is there?
So, yeah, I guess I would like, whew, I mean, because I'm not convinced this isn't up to date. I mean, we know that. Because Hasty Road isn't shown at either end, or a middle road.
Yeah, it's on there.
Well, the roads are shown, but not as trails.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's right where? Am I
History
missing
road's right
something?
here.
No, but that's just a drawing.
Yeah, it's just, these are just drawings, we're actually gonna make some nice ones up.
Yeah, I drew them.
I mean, Hasty Road doesn't show as
Oh,
part of your
to the
trail.
parking lot.
Yeah,
No, they took it
and
off.
doesn't show it here on a middle road.
And that, I think, and that's the complaint, is that
Because-
people are using it and going fast and there's no town
Because they didn't
permission.
put- Because it's a temporary, they didn't put in the, because it's a temporary, they didn't make it a trail on the map because it was supposed to go away. As soon as Woodward came back in, but that didn't happen because the money. And now we're trying to get this grant stuff to fix that correctly,
Yeah.
so it'd be a good road, so that we could tie back in, and then it would be back onto Middle Road. Thank you.
All right, well, I guess I'd reiterate what I would like, and that is a map showing
Okay,
town roads that you want to use.
Do you have a list of class 6
You got a
roads?
highlight?
I thought I had a copy somewhere, but I don't know where it went.
What is a class 6 road?
Which
I saw
one?
the old unused dirt road.
which one's a class 6?
I don't, look, let's see if Debbie has one in her pen
I don't know.
holder.
I doubt it, frankly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean-
got a list from somewhere.
And then what do we do with the residents' concerns about all this traffic and,
Yeah.
and noise and speed? And, I mean, I feel like they need a chance to
Then
voice.
you call the game warden.
Sheriff?
Yep.
That's the, we're not allowed to stop
We'll
people.
put game warden phone numbers right on the sign if they'd like. I just don't understand where I know these people in Rockland. I worked on their
Oh, that's
cars.
not gonna be what he wants.
I already know who the guy that
Map.
complained is, because I can tell by the personality.
You want it?
Is it Tully? He's completely okay with this. People on the far end on the right, he was happy as can be also when we were putting calcium chloride down. I thought Debbie was okay with it. The other Taylor, I was told by Alan, he goes, I highly doubt it, so is Gary. And then there's one other Taylor that lives this side of it,
Matt's in the old store. Matt
Matt.
is in the old store.
Actually, I have the thing right here, let me see if I can dig it out. I have actual tax map with all the names on it
But I
right
think-
We got about 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah,
guys. We have another.
We've got
we have
a
a-
3 o'clock
Okay.
Okay.
meeting with
So you want a
someone.
list of roads,
List of roads
and you want a map.
and a map, that would be ideal,
That'd be just,
Yes.
just,
Can we highlight them on the map you just looked at?
I guess. I'll tell you what, if you
Confusing.
get a town road map from
okay.
the clerk's
That'd be
office,
confusing.
okay? Because that thing is so
Okay.
skewed,
Okay.
it's hard for me to look
So
at.
I'll have a
That's just a
topographical
drawing.
map figured out for you, but it's gonna take a little bit for me to get you a
That's
nice
just a
map that
drawing.
shows everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But my other question is, in the past, when we were trying to get down to Newfield, I met with probably 30 landowners. And every single one of them was okay going through the road that went by their house, but the people at Lewis Road was given back to the owners and they didn't want us on Lewis Road. Is it okay if I knock on these people's door and ask them if it's okay?
we can't tell you to
Okay,
do
I
that
just
or
wanna
not
make
do
sure. I
that.
don't know that, but I already know that 2 or 3, or maybe 4 of them are gonna say, and I'm pretty sure it's this Edwin guy, I don't know for sure,
Well, we got,
and,
by the right to know law, we have a right to know who said something.
well, don't worry about that.
If I know this guy, I did him a huge favor, he has no idea that I'm the president of the club.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So I talked to him, I got him a free transmission put in his car.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because he likes me. And if I go to him and say, hey, I'm in charge,
Yeah,
he'll go, oh, Tom, well, you know, you helped me out, you can work with me.
yeah.
So,
The end result is that irregardless of whether or not it's an access trail from Taylor City to the parking lot, the traffic is still gonna be there.
Okay,
The ATVs are
May
local
50.
around there.
Okay.
and they use
We just
that.
need to make sure that we're clarifying.
We're trying to get, yeah, we're just trying
What
to
you
give
have-
them legal.
what you
That you have
permission to
town
use.
permission, that it's legal.
Yeah,
right.
we're just
And then if
trying
I will
somebody's
get
using
you-
something that doesn't have town permission, then
Right.
we can let citizens know that they need to call a game warden.
Right,
Yeah.
because that's the only ones that
Yeah,
are.
'cause the trail's supposed to open up May 15th, and there's no way.
Because of the wetness?
No, they're opening up, they're
Oh.
good.
That's a normal,
We've been doing trail maintenance,
Yeah,
that's something you do.
and, I mean,
yeah.
Well, are we okay to just,
We need to know if we can continue
Well-
using it, or,
well, until it gets approved, do you want us to take the sign down at the, because there's only 3 signs.
yeah.
There's one that says ATV parking this way.
Yeah,
That's an informational sign.
Yeah.
That's not saying it's an ATV
right,
trail.
right.
That's an informational sign. And then there's one on either side of the Taylor's house that says 10 miles an hour, make no dust.
Uh-huh.
Do you want us to take those down?
At this point, I'd say no, let us
And get-
chew it
get
up
this
a little
what
bit and
happens?
see what we spit
And I'm
out.
gonna
Okay.
go down this weekend and, visit the neighbors.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. We really need to get on
Okay.
that meeting.
Plan.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks for
Okay.
coming in, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
we're trying to represent everybody.
I-
So we
Yeah,
we
we
I
understand,
know,
right?
everything's a pain in the butt, and you guys gotta deal with
I
it.
thought we were getting called in just because of him,
Oh,
from my
yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
Alright,
I'm just glad you
Come on,
guys
Bobby,
do
let
it
me
for
get
us.
his bag.
They take the whole bag.
I did stop a guy, I was doing trail work, and I said, you can't be out here, he was unregistered,
No, jeez. Yeah.
and it's a $300 fine.
yeah.
We even talked about putting fake blinky lights on
When's the
some
last
of
time
the
you seen a
ATVs so people would think.
I've requested wardens 3 times
Yeah,
on that trail system over the years, and they don't have the manpower.
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Oh, I got
take care
the chair.
again.
Thank you, though.
They can't mess with.
All right.
All right, folks, thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time. We'll get it figured out.
More progress to you on your hip.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Yeah,
Another 6 weeks, the other one's done. We'll be up and about in about 2 months.
And he's gonna miss being spoiled like he's
No,
being spoiled, yeah.
no. Everybody's gonna have to do.
Hi, guys, can you hear me, can you hear us? Oh, are you logging on too, or? 'cause
Yeah,
I got
just-
reverb, okay,
Yeah.
I've got some reverb going on. Sorry, we were involved in another meeting, so we're a few minutes late.
No, we're not hearing.
Yeah, hold on, let me get some more volume here. Audio.
Is your volume up?
Just, hold on. Okay. Okay, let's give that a go.
How do we sound?
There we go.
Much
Yeah.
better.
Okay, great. The perils of like hybrid hybrid meetings in this
Right,
day.
right.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm really happy that we were able to convene this group. I know everybody here is busy, and so I'm really just glad that we were able to find a time to connect. So I sent an agenda this morning to just give a bit of an overview of what we want to do, but it would be great if we would maybe start with some introductions. I know that sort of Scott and B, you likely know the folks at the town, but we'd love to sort of hear from Jen, Aaron, and Lynn again, if you'd like to introduce yourself again, and then we'll take over on our end for introductions.
Sure. Jen Lewis, and I'm a select board member here in the town of Parsonsfield. Aaron can introduce himself, but sitting right next to me that you can't see is Dave Bauer. He's the chair of our planning board, of our, sorry, wrong meeting,
Yeah.
of our select board.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, David.
Oh, there, okay, there's Scott, there's Cy, okay.
All right, you're on, Aaron.
Yeah, I know a few of you. Again, Aaron Bogan, member of the select board, newest member. So excited to hear what this is all about.
Great. And then, Lynn, I think you might have met most people on this call, but for those who maybe didn't meet you last time, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. I'm Lynn Sudlow. I'm a member of the community, and I was on the Comprehensive Plan Committee the last couple of years. And I'm also one of the officers of the Parsonsfield Porter Historical Society, which may be why I've been invited to participate. And I just wanted to point out that on Saturday, the Historical Society had a walking tour down Federal Street. right past the Stanley Building and the Mill Building, and we had over 30 people show up for that walk, which is amazing. There's a lot of interest in what's going on down in Keyser Falls. And every time we've had a program about the mill or something related to that, we've had a large turnout at the Historical Society. People are interested. Some want to tear it down now, but we hope we can save it.
Great. That's all really good context as we kind of go into, I think, what's a little bit further down our agenda, but just to talk through kind of what sentiments are at the moment. But thank you. I might hand it to Geo and then Ben at DECD to say hello.
Hi, Jen. It's good to see you again.
Hi,
David,
Cy.
Aaron, nice to meet you. I'm Cy Coffey. I'm a U.S. Department of Energy fellow at the Maine Governor's Energy Office. And as I'm sure Asha will get into more later, but just kind of wanted to introduce that this technical assistance that the state is offering is a collaboration between the Governor's Energy Office and then DECD, and is being administered by our consultants, HR&A, represented here by Asha, who's going to lead most of this meeting. And then Sabrina, Ben, and I will kind of be in the background, but really willing to take any questions or any thoughts that you guys have. And I'll pass it to Sabrina.
Thanks, Zach. Hi, Jen. Hi, Dave. Hi, Erin. Nice to meet you for the first time. Sabrina Jodra with the Maine Governor's Energy Office. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator. So a lot of my work in the past is surrounded municipal development, community economic development, business development. So pleased to learn more about the project and how we can align interests.
Hi, Ben Sturdivant. I'm with the Department of Economic and Community Development. I work in the Office of Business Development and do a lot of work with redevelopment of different properties such as this mill site. So been working with this team for a while now and excited to see some progress and however we can help with technical assistance.
I have a question.
Go for it.
How did this all come about in terms of at the technical assistance? And I just heard you say that you've been involved with the team that the team that, not with the millworks, but the team that you're with, I'm assuming is what you meant.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess I was just curious on how it all got started.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pause on being and Scott introducing yourself. We'll just go to HR&A to give a little more context. But my name is Asha Basil. My colleague Carrie just jumped on. And I'm a director at HR&A Advisors, which is the economic development consulting firm that is working with GEO and DECD to implement the Maine Community Energy Redevelopment Program, MESRP. And so what Ben was referring to is we sort of started designing this program together and collaboratively in 2023, I think, early 2024. And so we had a preliminary round of, a cohort of communities that participated and received technical assistance or are still receiving technical assistance, and we'll get into a list of that in a second. And then we are now sort of, the process that brought us to Keyser Falls, which is great, is that we were sort of looking for additional communities that might be eligible for participation in MESRP. And again, I'll go over what those eligibility criteria are as well.
And just to jump in really fast, Jen, this is Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan funding that is being administered collaboratively between DECD and GEO, and we brought on HR&A to support us in this endeavor. And we were connected to the Keyser Falls team through James Rather at SMPDC. Was kind of how this specific scope kind of took shape. And then I added in the chat just a quick link to the webpage on our website that gives a little bit of background on MESRP as a program and what the other 6 communities have kind of accomplished or are working to accomplish through this program.
Thanks, Sai. Great. So I just really quickly, and then we'll get into sort of to get to your questions, Jen. I'll let my colleague Carrie introduce himself, and then hand it to B and Scott, and we'll go from there.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Aaron. My name is Kerry Herstein. I'm a partner with HR&A Advisors out of our New York office, and I've been working alongside Asha and the team here since the beginning of MESRP. Much of my work is focused on the intersection of economic development, real estate, and climate policy. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks.
And then I teed B and Scott up, but if you know everyone, we don't need to to do that. But let me know.
Oh, I think I pretty much know everyone. I'm B. Hansford. I'm currently in San Diego, but we'll be in Maine in next month, actually. And I'm just kind of joining the project within the last year with Scott and Mark, who have been involved with the acquisition of the mill for, I think it's around 6 years now. And I'm just trying to help them really move things forward. That's really my only focus here with them, is to just try to help them in any way that I can to really move things forward, whether it's through funding or identifying funding mainly, but also to kind of help them with community engagement and anything really that needs my help. Their focus is, I mean, their expertise and background is really in construction, and with Mark, he's an architect, and he's been a part of the big developments, real estate developments throughout various states, and so there's a huge missing piece as far as just general project management and funding, and figuring out that aspect of things, and so that's my involvement with these two guys. So, plus they're my brothers, so. That makes it easier.
Great. Okay, so with that, I'm going to share my screen and go through a pretty sort of abridged overview of MESRP, just so we're all on the same page before we jump into talking specifically about the mill site in Keyser Falls. So as I mentioned, so we have the program was designed to achieve sort of 5 main goals. First is to grow the economy, so making use of sites that have the potential to create family-sustaining jobs and bolster business growth in different communities in Maine. The second is to spark collaboration between government, nonprofit, and private partners in order to B's point, sort of move things forward and get things going. And so that's why we're particularly excited to have this group of folks in a room together representing the town and the Keyser Falls Millworks group, who all relate to the same goal of making the highest and best use of the mill site. And the third requirement or sort of goal, which is a bit technical and sort of why the geo team is really important here, is to leverage existing areas that have existing or underutilized energy infrastructure assets. So whether that's transmission lines, hydropower, things like that. And for context, we already confirmed with CMP that this site is eligible. There's excess capacity there. And so if there were to be sort of new users, those users could be served with this extra capacity from CMP. The fourth is to help communities in Maine secure funding, both sort of federal and state, and going into sort of the philanthropic realm as well, as just given shifts in federal landscape. And then finally is to deliver investment in areas that are rural or don't typically receive this kind of economic development support. And so focusing on smaller communities outside of sort of coastal Maine. Oh, go ahead. There was or unless it was a sneeze. We can keep going. What MESRP provides is, as we've said, technical assistance. So this isn't a direct funding, but you will receive technical assistance from the HR&A team to help in a variety of things. And so we, in the 6 communities we've supported already, developed pretty bespoke scopes of work to help move the needle forward in these different areas. And so what we do is, we'll collaborate with you all to understand what that scope will look like. But for context, it can be anywhere from sort of initial phases, ideating what a project might be, conducting community engagement for project visioning, to the nitty gritty of working on site planning or feasibility assessments for different uses of the site, whether it's industrial, retail, would the market support that? And if not, sort of what levers can you use to make it work? And then finally, if we get to a point, it's sort of working with roles and responsibilities of project team members as they go into implementation. And overarching all of these is really to help the communities be set up to make use of funding opportunities to further their work. So I mentioned earlier a few criteria for eligibility in USERP, and we've sort of confirmed these with confirm most of these, and I think the third one is what we want to sort of talk about today with this group. So the first is that there is a clear project concept in this site, for the site, that the site's located in an area with available grid capacity, again, sort of confirm that. And then the fourth is a but-for component, right, so that the project is still in sort of planning or pre-development phase, that the technical assistance would be additive and not sort of not useful in moving the project forward, meaning that it wouldn't happen without the technical assistance. And the third here is that there's potential for a public or nonprofit entity to be meaningfully involved in some form of the project. And so while, so for example, we have worked in Wiscasset where the main project sponsor was the town of Wiscasset, but has been a project advisor of a development company that had an option to sort of acquire some of the land that we were
For what?
For the heating?
planning around.
For this
And so in this case, we
Yeah.
sort of just
How about
want
Monday
to
sometime?
really talk through
Any
over
chance?
Wednesday?
minutes, the
I'm
role
not
that the town
typically
might
here,
be able to
but I
have. And this is
can.
kind
Maybe
of an
Thursday if that
advisor,
works.
recognizing that there's a lot of capacity constraints on
He said Wednesday or
on you all,
Friday. I know you're
and don't
closed
wanting,
on
not wanting to
Friday.
add to that, but wanting to make sure that
said Wednesday or
this
Fri-
technical
what time
assistance
Friday?
is something that benefits the
in the
town and
morning?
has meaningful input from
I'll be
the
there tomorrow,
town.
but do you want to walk with one of the selectmen or just look at stuff?
And then just to give a
Yes,
really
my engineer's coming.
high-level overview
The
of where
engineer
we've
from my
worked
company.
thus
Yeah.
far.
He's
So
scheduled.
in 2024, and then sort of wrapping up the first half of
I can be here
2025,
next Wednesday.
we were delivering technical assistance in
Like
6
2 o'clock?
communities. So in the south, you can see
Yes.
Auburn, Yarmouth, and Wiscasset.
Make sure you
and
leave your
up
phone
north,
number with
Millinocket,
Danielle, if
Yeah.
you would,
and
just in
Bucksport.
case there's a
Okay.
conflict,
And-
but yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
We have
Appreciate
some,
it.
some
We'll
more
see you then,
details
Chris.
about what we've done in each of these communities, and happy to talk through it. But just to give sort of a high level, what the outcomes were and what these sort of scopes ended up looking like in the communities. So an example is we worked on defining redevelopment visions and goals in collaboration with local residents and stakeholders. So did formal community engagement and sort of site visioning and market feasibility assessment in Wiscasset. We did a financial analysis of a proposed spec industrial building in Lincoln. So working through a pro forma and identifying sort of any funding gaps that would need to be filled in the capital stack to make that happen. Another one is creating a site marketing dashboard for industrial parcels in Auburn. So sort of in addition to Select Main Sites, a one that's bespoke for Auburn and sort of meets their needs. We developed a workforce development plan for the One North folks up in Millinocket. So they've been successful in attracting tenants a little further down the line. But what was most additive when we talked with them was to really understand how to make sure that the job growth is inclusive and benefits local residents in the community. And then finally, in 2 of the sites in Yarmouth and Bucksport, we worked to identify and sort of assess the feasibility of potential future uses for underutilized energy generation sites. So plants that are maybe operating as peakers a few times a year, but not sort of at capacity. And I will stop there. Any questions about, Jen, David, and Aaron? I know this is the first time you all are seeing this. But any questions thus far?
I'm assuming Bucksport is the old mill there, correct?
So it's actually on the water. It is there's a parcel that is, part of it is owned by Geo Americas, the energy parcel, and the other is just vacant. And there was an option, I think, for an aquaculture farm, but those permits have expired, and so now there's a new question of what will be there, what industry will make use of the energy generated on the adjacent site. I'm sure there's a mill in Bucksport too. That just wasn't the.
There used to be.
Okay, yeah.
I think that this looks amazing, and I'm sure that Scott and Bee are pretty happy. Two things, like what do you as Millworks owners, you Bee and Scott, see as moving forward with and needing the technical assistance for in terms of the mill, and what do you see or think, what do you need from the town? Basically, what kind of support do you need from the town? I know we have, Lynn's a great resource because of her Parsonsfield Quarter Historical Society and being interested in all things that redevelop, as are we. But I think those are the two areas that I would have the most questions about. How does Millworks see themselves moving forward, and what do you need from the town, or from us as support, from the select board? And I'll shut up now.
I would say all the above. I mean, it's parking, it's septic. There's going to be challenges throughout. It's input. What we're looking forward to getting from MISRP is data, demographics, feasibilities, energy, whether it be solar on the roof, what square footage of the building can be utilized for public interest, whether it be an after-school program, an office for law enforcement, a gathering space. People wouldn't have to go clear to the town hall to have an area to meet. We need to have data on feasibility for what portion of the mill would be dedicated to commercial spaces for local businesses. We're really gripping with all the different factors that come with a new development, to the windows, to the infrastructure, and every little move we make and decide has got to be thoroughly thought through. One day we have a great idea and we're going to roll with it, and I've seen it happen too many times where you jump onto an idea too quickly and you didn't look at the big picture and get enough input from the community, and you go down a road that it isn't meeting the needs, or you go down a road that it excludes people. So anyway, we're looking forward to the data and the technical expertise that MISRP can bring to the table, and their advisors. And you got to be open to the advice.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that, Scott. I think that, obviously we have a vision for what we would love to go there, and we see so many opportunities as far as how we can engage the community in those areas, and we want it to kind of become the center of town again, and have it be someplace that the community is really excited to visit, to be a part of, and we definitely would like to have more community feedback as far as, here's what we would like, what would you guys like? And I know that usually the immediate thought that we've heard from people is like, you guys need to fix the windows, you guys need to paint the place. But I think that it's really hard to do those things without really knowing what's going to go inside, because what goes inside is going to dictate how many windows we need. And are we going to be taking advantage of historic tax credits, or are we not? Because that's going to dictate what kind of windows we put in there and how we put those in there. And so there's a lot of things that one affects the other. Obviously, we're really limited by what we can put in the mill space because of the septic. And so, which is why I had approached Jen to start thinking about, hey, is a municipal septic system a possibility? And so there's just a lot of limiting factors, and one kind of plays off of the other. So it's not really an easy kind of, where do we start, right? And so that's kind of why we're really looking forward to having me sort of be a part of that conversation to kind of help us hold our hand through, like, okay, where do we start? We need some data, I think, before we can really make any of those decisions to really move things forward. And so I guess as far as answering your question, Jen, that was really long about ways to answer that, but how can the select board help? I think it's, just understanding that I think we're gonna need a lot of support from the town. We're gonna need a lot of support in I don't know if this is more to do with the planning board, but land uses, there's gonna be variances, there's going to be those kind of things that we're going to, just because it's non-conforming and it's on the river, obviously, there's going to be a lot of engagement with the various environmental groups and Saco River, and there's a lot of shoreline zoning issues that we'll need to contend with. And so it's just a big thing. So any support, really, by the select board would be really appreciated. But also, if you guys have recommendations on a direction we should take that we're not seeing, we would appreciate that feedback as well. Because I'm not coming into this saying that we know anything, really. I don't, I have an undergraduate in public administration, but I've never practiced public administration. I've never been in municipal government. My personal joy and education is in anthropology, which is absolutely nothing related to what I do, which is software development. And so this is, luckily my software development company allows me to fund these types of projects, but I don't have an expertise in it, and so we do defer to the people that do. And we do look to them to help us get this project completed and as quickly as possible. I don't want this to be a 10-year project where these guys who are already, 65 don't get to walk through the complex. They're going to have to wheelchair through the complex. And I want them to be able to see it to its completion. And I think that, everybody that's on this call would also like that as well. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Bea. I think that all says a lot. I think the entire town and all of us on the select board would love to see the same things. It's been talked about. Now you're making me think. You need all your ADA compliances to get everybody going through the mill. But
yeah,
I can see us offering a space for meetings. Maybe. This is something that the three of us will talk about at some point. We're more interested in what you see the town as being able to offer. As I looked through your agenda, I see my name listed as project advisor, and as Cy is well aware, the town has been given a grant from the GOPIF, the Government Office of Policy Innovation in the Future, for an energy assessment. So, some of the things that you were talking about are some of the things that we will be also doing as a town for town purposes, for energy redevelopment and climate assessment and resilience and all of that. So I hesitate to offer myself as a project advisor if that's, becomes super involved. But,
totally. And I, again, this is sort of preliminary, just, to put a name there. I think it just could be someone from the town with a little bit of capacity to sort of advise. But
maybe Lynn.
To kind of just clarify, I think a few things. One is that the idea is for what, just in terms of next steps, so you all know, we as the MeServe team, so Ben, Cy, Sabrina, Carrie, and I will take sort of the input we hear from you about what, to your point, what is it that we can do to move the needle forward with MeServe, and sort of package that into a scope of work that we'll all align on and send. And so in terms of the two different roles, so the Millworks folks will be sort of the main project sponsor, service party to this scope of work and the MOU, and they'll be sort of the main point of contact throughout our technical assistance project. And then what we're thinking from someone from the town, does not have to be you, Jen, because as I know, first of all, it's exciting about the grant. And I think that's a big reason why we would love for someone from the town to be involved, so that we can identify those synergies and make sure that we're, planning in a way that's holistic and keeps a bird's eye view of everything else going on in the town. And so what the role of the town could be, and this is a proposal, and I'd love to sort of talk through. Sorry, memorandum of understanding. I should have said that, but basically it's
Thank
a
you.
non-binding document just to explain, so we're all on the same page about
Can
what
I-
we're.
Can I jump in after just before we should, Jen, to your question, all the other communities that have received awards under MISRP have had some, with the exception of one, which is, have been municipal sponsors.
Yeah.
The other one is a nonprofit that is essentially like this with the local municipality and essentially represents the interest of the major redevelopment industrial site. So I think what we're looking for here to make sure, because this program is set up to benefit local communities and use those state funds to do so, we want to make sure that if we are partnering with a private group to provide support, that there's a local partner from the town that is involved directly in that conversation and supports it. So
That makes sense
that
to
you
me
know,
now.
that might be you, it might be somebody else, it might be somebody you designate, and we are just really clear on that individual's role and how they communicate with you and how we all communicate together. But we really do want to make sure that there's local buy-in and a local representation on the portion of this.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Gary. So what, so I think what we would sort of, what that would look like in practice, and we talked a little bit about this with the Keyser Falls Millworks folks, is, just helping facilitate probably community engagement. I think that's something that we've talked about quite a bit, and an understanding of that would be a good place to start in the scope of work. But before we kind of go into the details of what that might look like, I wanted to sort of in this discussion section kind of put that question that you posed to sort of be and Scott on sort of you all at the town, in the sense that from your perspective, what are the most pressing barriers to the redevelopment of the mill site? Like, what have you seen in your long tenure, being in the town and working for the municipality? And then secondarily, what's your understanding of resident sentiments around the mill? Obviously, I think we've heard that everyone is excited for it to be something new. There was a 30-person walking tour there last weekend. But, curious to hear from you all, your perspectives on this.
Can you unmute, Jen?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I think that, just bottom line and number one, septic would be like a something from the town, not only the town, but Saco River. We have a quarter commission. You probably know who they are. That is probably that's one of the biggest concerns for the mill. And redevelopment in that area would be a huge impact to the village itself in terms of traffic and construction and, the area where it's located and having traveling going back and forth. That's what I see. I'm going to mute myself again so that maybe Dave and Aaron.
Don't mute.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
All
hi,
right.
it's David Bauer. Because of my background in code enforcement and plumbing inspection, obviously the septic is probably the big thing. We did do a study, which we can provide to you, probably 10 years ago. I was not directly involved in it, but that was, they got an estimate for a for a pumping station at the mill that would pump up to a system at our old box shop, which is still a possibility, but at the dollars. And, that's not something we can undertake financially, but maybe there are grants available. The other thing is the shoreland zoning. I'm sure you're all familiar with shoreland zoning, but it's the second most regulated type of property in the state of Maine, the first being mining. And the barriers there are not things that the town can grant variances on. They're things that the state has to grant variances on. So that not only could be difficult, but could be a lengthy process.
I'll mute so that you can talk, Aaron. There.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I'm on my own here. So yeah, again, it's similar to that. It's, in case you haven't heard, the septic is high on everyone's list. But additionally, it's Saco River corridor. It's so it's not just a town. It's going to take an entire community of approvals to get things moving forward. I think that's going to be the biggest barrier is not just getting approval, but making sure that you're getting approval from the right places, and knowing where to go to get those approvals is going to be the probably the bigger step there. And then I think getting community buy-in on what's going in. I know that there's been many ideas over the years that have been thrown around, and some things work and some things don't, and people obviously always have opinions on what's going to work or what isn't, and so I think getting that community buy-in to what's going to be going in there, and the communication is going to be key to the success.
Can I get back on, Jen?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Let me just.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The septic, it's going to be a big one, but we have to go forward. There's the long-term point of view where we could have some kind of a town, a village system. Parsons Field is what, 60 square miles? It's not something that you can advertise as wanting to do, and you're going to get so much opposition as it being, the locals are going to say it's just so ridiculous and out of reach. But what we're talking about is for, like, say, the village. In Cornish, 4 miles away, they have a small system just for their downtown area. And that's really made a big difference for the commercial downtown village area of Cornish. All of those properties are non-conforming. A lot of them are on the river. So it took them a while, but that system, it's a small system. It was for the village. And so it comes down to communication, like Aaron was saying. You've got to inform people what the plan is and how it's going to be paid for. That's the big concern with the locals. They don't want their taxes going up for the benefit of a few downtown. So it's a communication thing. But we were looking forward. We looked downrange for all the added capacity we could possibly get for the village and for the mill project. But we have handed in, and we're under review right now for our first phase. We've got the engineering done for our first phase of septic. So we hope to have that first phase installed this summer. So it's in the state's hands right now. It's under review at Saco River Corridor for phase 1 of the septic system. We've got a good plan with the local designers that's completed. And so we need to just get a foothold with something as soon as possible so that we can move a few buildings forward at least. We can't wait on an entire system to be placed and figured out before we move forward. So we're going to go forward with our phase 1. It's not going to interfere with anything. It's going to add to our ability to at least get a couple of buildings up and running legally. And we can nip around the edges at least. Get a couple of buildings legal, up and running. And then the larger mill complex, that's where we really need the help. So we've got a short-term vision. It's the longer-term vision down the road vision that we really need your help with.
This is all really great context. Thanks everyone for sharing. To zoom in on one component here, which was that I know it was mentioned, I think, during this call or previous one, that there had been community engagement done specifically related to the mill site. And I'm curious if the results of those, pull that down so we can see each other, the results of that community engagement process are A, what the general overview was, and B, if that's something that we could sort of take a look at as we start to design what might be a new phase of that.
I think Lynn would be great to speak to that because the Parsonsfield Porter Historical Society, when they had their meeting, it was packed. We were jammed in there and listening to what was going on. So I'll mute myself again.
Well, there's a lot of interest in the community, but there were at least two community meetings held at the town office building that addressed what the community vision for the mill site should be. And those materials should be over there at the townhouse somewhere.
Yeah, can you unmute?
Sure.
I can speak to that a little bit further.
Okay.
So we would put forth some ideas, and people would take it in. We've had some ideas that we were working on that fell through, and that was a learning experience. We haven't had a meeting like that Lynn has helped us with in hosting, which was great. We are reluctant to overpromise or to lay out a vision in such a tone that it's like it's set in stone. We're up against what took place first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to designing and laying out architecturally what is going to be best for the mill. That's where we're still struggling with developing a plan. And to develop that plan, we need more feedback, we need more data. If we were to go forward with only the mill property in the area that it has to place septic systems on, well, then that limits us when it comes to designing the entire project, because your datum point for development is going to be your septic capability. We have plenty of power. ASHA, we've realized that from the get-go. We have three-phase power with plenty of generation, so we would not be lacking. So that was a big plus. So we have that. We've got fantastic water, town water with incredible pressure and incredible volume too. So that's taken care of. It's the septic, and on the property that we have on hand, we've been trying to purchase adjoining properties as best we can to give us more area to place chambered systems in. So we hope by the end of the summer, or this year anyway, to have an educated fix or some real solid data on the daily gallons per day flow that we can generate on site, or at least shared by adjoining properties. Once you have a figure like that, and you know what you're capable of handling on our own, as far as gallons per day in effluent, well, then you can start to put a pencil to laying out what is possible at the mill. How many restaurants you could have, how many apartments you could have. So each area of the mill and its planned function is going to have a different calculation. So it's going to draw down against your flow, your daily flow in septic. So that's where we're at. We're working as quick as we can to get the proper designs completed so we can take a look at it. And then from there, then we can finally start to put a pen to paper as to what areas and what businesses we can bring into the mill.
So sorry, Scott, can I jump in? Okay.
Yeah, please.
So just, I view our role as part, we're part capacity, right? We bring the ability of some people with time and expertise to come to help better understand the project. This is going to cover a lot of different disciplines, but we're going to help understand, the revenue side of the equation. If you can reposition, the building for certain types of uses, what are the produced in terms of revenue? We're going to engage on some of the land use considerations that you've pointed out. Certainly, we're going to need to bring on other disciplines to deal with some of the architectural questions, and we can talk about whether or not we'll need that for the septic question as well. But I view our role as capacity. I view it as education, so getting us all on the same page about what the issues are. And I view it as facilitation, both facilitation between the folks on this call and those in the community, but also, how the public sector and the private sector, in this case, the Millworks team and Town of Parsonsville, can work together to sort of make this happen. What's it going to take? And, it is, I will tell you, it's not rare that you look at a project like this and there are gaps, right? A lot of these projects are about how you figure out how to fill the gaps through local, state, and sometimes federal resources. So that's what we have to shine a light on, and that's what we have to do. The topic of community engagement that come up, I think, is really important to kind of piggyback on Scott, that it's not just a meeting that says, what do you want here, right? That really good engagement, the way that we do this at HR Day, is to do a fair amount of work up front to trust people, them to understand, sometimes complex ideas and concepts that we have to break down, to talk about the opportunities and constraints of projects. And so being able to really do that in a thoughtful way here, I think, is going to be important. We want to get blue sky ideas from people, but to Scott's point, they have to be viable. And I view our number one job here as not coming up with an awesome plan that everybody's super excited about. Yes, we want to do that, but we want really a business framework for how it can happen. I think, Lynn, you said this last time we all spoke, is sort of like we generally like the idea of what we're talking about here, but it's how do we get it done? How do we move it forward? And I think that's what everybody wants to do. So we view that as sort of as our core job. I know we have 10 minutes left. I think what's really important here is we know we have a lot of interest from the folks from Scott and Mark and B. I think from the town's perspective, hearing two things. One, what do you see your role and participation in this process as? Two, what do you want to see from HRNA as a representative of MESERP in providing this work? What is useful from the town's perspective? We're examining a lot of this from the landowner's perspective, but we want to hear from the town. And I'll add a third, which is and you don't have to answer this question now, but who would be the right contact and representative from the town to remain in communication throughout this process and have a role that we can sort of shape and define given time limitations, of course.
Yep.
So, sorry, that was a lot of questions.
I'll unmute myself if you. Yeah, a lot of questions.
So yeah, go ahead.
I think it's something that we probably could discuss again amongst ourselves, so to speak, and talk about contact. And certainly I don't mind, because I have a feeling that I might be involved with some of you with the grants that's coming up anyway. And, but we can talk about it as a select board, for sure. Being kept informed of what's going on and what next steps are, definitely. And I'll let you guys weigh in on that as well.
Yeah, as an aside from that, I will say that all of the materials from the studies that were done prior to this are available. I don't know if we have copies of things, so you might have to look at things here, but they are available.
I did provide Bea with the name of the people who did the study,
Okay.
hoping that maybe if she was able to contact them, they could give her a copy.
Yeah.
But she does know we have them. so,
Okay,
yep.
yeah. And just another thing that was touched on that is a little specific, but I'm going to say it anyways. There is a faction that would love to see a nice riverside park on that property. So just so you know, there are some people that would just as soon see a nice grassland there, as an aside. That's it.
Oh, okay. Anything you want to say?
I think actually another layer to this too that I think can help shape some of the deliverables from what MeServe is hoping to accomplish as well is one of the tenets of the program is also technical assistance that could be leveraged to a community project that's been stalled. So the buy-in from the municipality or from a development group, this being, Keyser Falls Millwork and with the town of Parsonsfield, if there is a certain funding opportunity or something down the road that, say, the municipality or the developer would like to apply for, having that public input or the deliverable from MeServe to use as either an attachment or as that case study to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there is enough community buy-in for a project to take place can prove to a funder as to which a certain case could be taken for development, whether it's brownfields, whether it's a community development block grant, which more often needs to be applied for on the behalf of the municipality. So the municipality will apply for it on behalf of Keyser Falls in order to get the project to move forward. So the benefit of having MeServe technical assistance applied in this case is that the town then has the case study, it has the research, as Scott was discussing, and has those data points, which will already be prepared on your behalf to then kind of make that case to a funder to say, this is why the community wants this, or this to happen at this point in time. Just to add an additional layer there.
I'd like to add a comment, and that is, David, I agree with you 100%, is that we've got the beautiful Ossipee River right in our back door, and that it should be utilized. A perfect example is the Veterans Park that came to life quite a few years ago. It's located across from the Parsonsfield Post Office. 21 Club and garden clubs got involved, and putting in a picnic table and a bench made out of recycled plastic did the trick, and people are there a lot. A lot of people that ride down through our village on their bikes, I'm talking about biking groups, will stop there, eat their lunch, sit by the river, and that's something that they could do also by the mill. And I think that just the getting rid of there and give it some sense of feeling that people can come on down, bring their chairs, sit there, and enjoy the beautiful view. The second thing is, I agree with Scott and also with Lynn that we've had a couple of meetings, and so things are just thrown up here and there and wherever. And I'm just wondering if maybe we can take the ground floor of the mill or the second floor of the mill and actually have some plans available of what Scott and Mark are thinking about doing, and making that available to the community. And I'll bet you they'll say, aha, there's some movement being made. And instead of all the stuff, the balls in the air, they'll actually have something physical to look at and maybe even touch. So maybe that's another way to move forward.
Excellent, Judy. Thank you. Asha and the team, my personal feeling is that our little community is in better hands today than it has been in decades. The town has acquired this place. I think David would know best. I think in about 2002. So the building is sat, and it turned into a vandal's playground for many years. They finally got to the point where they realized that they've got to just get it. Something's got to give. So 2017, the town put forward a RFP, request for proposals, and funny thing is, on that RFP, it stated that there were no known encumbrances to the property, and that they could deliver a title within 90 days. Well, as it turned out, nearly 6 years later, with all the different legal battles and litigations and things that were associated with getting the property to the point where they could turn it over to us. If it wasn't for, and I'm not putting down past select boards, but if it wasn't for David Bauer stepping up, knowing the situation and bringing things to a head with real renewed energy and getting the thing done, we'd still be in litigation. So finally, we have a board right now with Aaron and Jen and David that
I'm going to type in flattery will get you.
are perfect for leading the charge and being good partners for the town and making the most of your services with MISER. And they're great at engaging with a true heart and a good brain and seeing it through. We don't want to turn it into a 20-year project like B said. We need traction, but the sooner we have some assistance that you could provide, the sooner we can start to really develop it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I think you're right. This does seem like a good group to move things forward. So we're happy to be part of it. So to your last point, Scott, about sort of moving forward and receiving the assistance quickly and hopefully soon, I just want to recap our next steps here, which are to the select board folks will regroup internally and let us know sort of who can be the advisor or point of contact as we move forward. B, it sounds like you have access to some of the studies that were mentioned, but it would also be great, I think, select board folks, if you like, oh, there was a community engagement or someone did a study, it'd be great if you could sort of try to compile those, whether it's sort of like scanning them or handing them to Scott, a copy to Scott or something like that, just so that we go into the beginning of this work knowing sort of all the context that we can. And from there, just on our end with HRNA, GEO, and DECD, we will sort of come back to this group with a specific sort of fleshed out scope of work for what exactly we'll do, the different phases of each of the tasks so that they, support each other, right? So probably beginning with the market study in order to go into a community engagement event with perhaps even sort of tangible site plans if possible. So yeah, that's our next steps. Anything else that folks wanted to raise?
Let's get busy.
I just want to say thanks for being part of this and bringing it to the town as well.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Thanks for choosing us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You reached out to us and choosing our little town because we need it. And we've got a great group of people in the town that work for the town. Our select board is they have the energy that we finally needed, and I want to thank all of them. So this it's all good.
Keep going, Scott. Keep going,
Scott.
As another comment, in the village of Keys Falls, we have a lot of new people, and many of the old timers, their parents, their grandparents, their great-great-grandparents worked in the woolen mill, so they have a vision of what that building looks like. And I'm just wondering that the many new people that have now moved into the area, maybe just having a tour of that building so that they just don't see the mill as all the broken glass and everything, which is visible from the outside.
I don't think
But
it's safe
to go
to do that right
inside
now.
and see how structurally sound that building is. And maybe that's another way to engage the community. I just thought of it at this point because we do have a lot of new people coming into the area.
Site plan review.
That's awesome. Thank you, Judy, and everyone for those ideas. We're excited to move forward. So to your point, Scott, yeah, we'll get working. And yeah, again, thank you all for your time today. And we're looking forward to continuing to collaborate. And if there are questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to sort of me, Carrie, Sai, Sabrina, and Ben with any questions.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Asha.
Quite the team.
Okay.
Yeah, I met Cy at that press release and talked to him for a little while, but, yeah, so I think I have a better idea of what they're all about now. I'm still not sure it'll happen in my lifetime, but,
Yeah.
I mean, septic is so huge, and,
Yeah.
you know, with putting in some village septic, but that system is dead, and and, you know, their CEO is just beside himself with what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
You know, every new business that's, are we still?
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
still on here.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, every new business that comes in Cornish is having to put in.
Put in their own septic.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
so,
All right.
Yep.
We're going to sign off, folks. The end of our workshop, the end of our day, at least here. Thanks for joining us.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
it's supposed to be a nice day.
Mm.